Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our new videos, and check the video description for a link to the That Learning Library app. Inside of our mobile app, you can easily find all of our tutorials and our neatly organized content libraries. You can access both free and premium content related to sublimation, white toner, affinity designer, sticker printing, and so much more. Our app also includes access to all of our premium masterclasses and exclusive communities for help, support, and sharing. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to sublimate this lovely sweatshirt tote bag from Johnson's Plastics Plus. We've had this item for a while, and now that we are here at summertime, it is the perfect item to get ready for the beach, so we are going to do that. Let's go ahead and turn this around. I'll show you the bag, talk a little bit about it. We'll get our measurements, and we will get this printed and pressed. Here's a look at our Sublimation sweatshirt tote bag from Johnson's Plastics Plus. So as you can see, the outer shell is this Sublimation polyester sweatshirt material. It feels just like a nice polyester sweatshirt with a little bit of stretch. This is the front of the bag. The back of the bag has an extra stitch line. You can of course sublimate on both sides, but if you want to just have one design that's unobstructed, that's going to be on this side. The inside of this, with its long straps, is this waterproof material. Now, I love the fact that this has waterproof material inside because that means it's the perfect item to use for going to the beach, going to the pool, any type of fitness or athletic activity. Basically, if there is something that you know is going to get put into this bag that could be wet or sweaty or stinky or sticky, it's going to go great in this bag because you can turn this inside out, wipe it out, rinse it off really easily, or of course you can throw it in the wash. But most of us are looking for something that's basically not going to absorb a bunch of moisture and odor, and that is this. This is also a good reminder to buy your blanks from legitimate sublimation suppliers who have tested their product and stand by their product. One of the biggest complaints we see about tote bags when people purchase tote bags that have any kind of liner that are not from an actual sublimation company is that that liner melts. And that's because a lot of tote bags that are on the market that are designed to be used as like a laptop case or a handbag and so on actually have a polypropylene lining. Now the polypropylene can't withstand the high heat and the pressure that you need for sublimation. So what ends up happening is the bag fuses together. And sometimes people will try and put like Teflon in there hoping that will mitigate it, and then it just fuses to the Teflon. And even if you were to drape this over your HeatPress bottom platen, then you would have it fusing to your platen. So all things that none of us want to happen. And this is why it is always important to get sublimation rated items that have been tested that are high quality. And this of course is just like everything from Johnson's Plastics. We love their blanks and are always happy with the end result. So we're gonna go ahead and get our measurements in this space here between this stitch line because that's where our design is gonna go. Now for an item like this, you can do a generic design, you could do names. I think you could do both if you wanted to on this particular bag because of that stitching on the other side. I could see doing a name on this side, and then if we were gonna make this for like, I don't know, someone who really loves basketball, you could put a basketball design on the back and you could put the name here on the front. You've got lots of space here in between these stitch lines. You can of course sublimate over the stitch lines as well. That's kind of just like your personal preference in terms of that. But just to give you an idea, if you were gonna do names, I would definitely try and do a dingback character font, you know, like the ones that would have like a watermelon A, and you know, like the next letter of the name might be a palm tree, things like that. There's a lot of different fonts like that available on Creative Fabrica. I love using them for different projects, but just to give you an idea of something to do if you were just gonna do a name. Now our total distance between our stitching is, what are we looking at? 16.5 inches. So I'm gonna say, just eyeballing it, if I do a design that's much wider than it is tall, then I think about 12 inches wide is good. But if I'm gonna do one that's a bit more square, I'm gonna opt for 10 inches. And that's just going to give me a nice center size. There's no special formula here. This is more of just eyeballing it and thinking aesthetically what looks the best. A mistake I often see is people trying to print like the full size of this with a design that doesn't really look good like that. And that's just something you always want to be conscious of. A 10-inch design is going to look great because when this is all filled up and full, it's going to like bulge out there in the middle. And then our height space here is about 8 1/4. So I would say if we did 7 inches, 7 by 10, that would be a good size design. So something that's within those measurements. We'll see what we have over at Of Love and Chip Lab. Let's pop over to Affinity Designer, get our design set up to print. I have Affinity Designer 2.0 pulled up on my Windows PC. If you are using version 1 or the Mac version, you may notice a little bit of differences in the overall layout, but the steps that we are going to follow will be the same. Our first step is to open up a document in the page size that we are planning to print on at the orientation that our printer feeds the paper. This is an important step. A lot of people end up with issues with their printing not coming out at the correct size or potentially getting cut off just by not following this one very easy step. So always make sure to do this first. Because our design is 7 by 10, approximately, we're going to go ahead and use a letter size page that will be adequate for our design. Come to File and New or New Document, and then we can just select our letter size page from our drop-down menu. Now, if you're using version 1, the document setup panel does look a little bit different. Feel free to refer to some of our older videos to see what that one looked like. It was just laid out differently, but all the same options are there. The next thing we want to do is come over to our color tab and make sure that our color format is set to RGB/8 for sublimation printing. And our color profile is set to sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. This is the most up-to-date color profile for RGB/8 for sublimation printing. If you are using an older Mac or you are facing some color discrepancy issues with your Mac, then choose the Adobe RGB 1998 option from this drop-down menu. As a reminder, your ICC profile is set up in your document or in your printer settings. When you go to print, it is not in the document setup. The document setup is universal. The printer settings may be dependent on your specific sublimation printer. I always like to make sure I don't have any margins or bleed lines. If you do, you'll see blue and red lines around your document. So with all of those set, we can go ahead and click Create. All we need to do is import and size our graphic for this project. We can do that by selecting the Place tool or coming to File and choosing Place. Now I'm going to use this sunshine and summertime design from my shop Of Love and Chip Lab. And when you see that downward arrow with the portal, simply click and drag to size it across your canvas. Now this is a bit bigger than I need, but anytime we bring in a design, we always want to look for if there's any negative space around that boundary box. When that happens, we just want to rasterize our design so that we can be sure that the sizing is 100% accurate. So I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to choose rasterize, and you'll notice it brings that those boundaries right on in. Now I can come over to my transform panel located in the bottom right, and I can enter in my measurements. Before we do that, we want to go ahead and lock our aspect ratio. You always want to make sure that that is locked so that you're not skewing your design when you enter in new measurements. Now, this design is a little bit more square than it is rectangle. My recommendation is to always start with the larger of your measurements. In this case, that is going to be our 10 inches width that we could potentially have for our design. So I will type in 10 inches right there. Then we want to check the smaller one. In this case, see how my smaller one is 8.126. This is a bit bigger than we have space for on our bag for what we were aiming for. We were aiming for 7 inches. We did have up to 8 inches. So I'm going to just sort of split the difference and do 7.25 inches as my height. So this does bring down my width a little bit more, but that's okay. It's still allowing us to have a nice size design that's going to look proportionate to our bag. As you can see, this doesn't automatically fit on our canvas when it is in this orientation. So we're just going to rotate it. You can do that by selecting your rotate clockwise or counterclockwise options in the top of your interface. I always like mine centered, so I'm just going to drag that until it is centered on the page, and now it is time to print. Head to File and choose Print. When your printer dialog box opens, you're going to come to where it says Printer and choose your printer from the drop-down menu. I have my Epson SureColor F570 Pro Series right here. Next, you're going to click on Properties. Now, your Properties panel for your printer may look different from mine. It will be dependent on the driver and utility package that is associated with your specific printer. This is where you will make any color correction settings that you have to have. If you are using a converted sublimation printer, you should have those settings saved within this panel so that you can just easily click on that settings and send something off to print. Saves you a lot of time. For those of us who are using the Epson SureColor F570 Pro, we just want to check over some details, right? We want to make sure our document size is correct, which it is, letter size. We want to come to where it says source and choose our paper source. In this case, we're doing our auto sheet feeder. For media type, we're going to choose textile because this is a bag. And that's all we have to do. I never change any of my settings. This is already in default to send it to mirror, which is what we want. And I don't need a print preview. So I'm going to deselect that and click OK. We have a print preview right here within the affinity box. So once everything looks great here, we can click OK again to send this off to print. I have already gone ahead and trimmed my transfer. It will fit very nicely right there in the middle. We always want to pre-press our textile items first. The best rule of thumb is to pre-press for half the time that you are going to be pressing your actual transfer. If you live in a climate that is more humid, or if it's a humid time of year when you're doing this project, then you might need to pre-press longer. We pre-press to get all of the moisture out of the fabric. The number one cause of ghosting is excess moisture in the fabric, because when we apply that high heat, it shrinks those fibers down as that moisture is being expelled from it, and then that causes that ghosting effect. We do have a couple of videos in the That Learning Library app, or lessons, they're not really videos, regarding the different types of ghosting so that you can best determine what type of ghosting you're having and what the cause could be. Be sure to check that out. Again, that is inside of the That Learning Library app. The link is in the video description. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this right on over this because I can. And we'll go ahead and pre-press. It's pretty humid here in North Carolina. It is the summer. So we're going to go for that full, we'll go for about 50 seconds. You go 50 to 60 really. So we're going to ultimately be pressing this for 60 seconds at 400 degrees. So you can see that I already have Blue the Fusion IQ set up for that. Just getting you guys straight up on there. And like I said, we will give this about 50 seconds. I do keep the office climate controlled, but it still says it's 52% humidity in here, so I gotta keep that in mind. When it comes to attaching transfers like this, everyone has a different preference. Some people don't use anything. That's usually my preferred. Some people like some type of a repositional temporary adhesive spray. Make sure you don't get anything that's permanent, nothing that dries permanent. This is a great option. You can buy this at like any sewing store. I've used different kinds over the years. This is just the one I currently have. I don't really have any specific preference. So it's really just your choice. If you have done a really good job pre-pressing, you don't necessarily need to use any type of adhesive spray. There's a misconception that if you haven't used enough adhesive spray, then that's going to result in ghosting, but that's not actually the cause of ghosting most of the time on textiles. Mine has been kept in the packaging, but if yours hasn't, always lint roll. You probably should have done that before pre-pressing. I keep most of my items in their original packaging so that I don't have to worry about lint rolling all the time. That's just my rule of thumb. With your printed transfer, make sure that you have cut off all of the edges. I already did all of that since I printed this off of my roll of paper instead of a single sheet. We always want to do our edges just so we're sure that there isn't any stray ink along those edges. So I'm going to line this up really good where it needs to be. Nice and centered. We're looking good. Okay. And we'll cover this with some blowout paper and slide it on back to go ahead and get that to print. It's a good idea to have your heat gloves ready unless you like burning your fingers. It's not really my thing, but I see people who don't use any kind of heat gloves. There are a lot of different heat gloves on the market. I don't have anything special. Mine are just, they were $4 on Amazon. You can see they've been well used, especially with white toner. They are probably due for a replacement, honestly. So this beach tote bag or athletic tote bag, whatever you want to use it for, definitely has great marketability in that specific space. I'm certain there are other ways that it could be used, but that waterproof lining is a great selling point. We talk all about different ways that you can market this product in the marketing guide, so be sure to click the link and check that out. It is exclusively available inside of our app. All right, we'll go ahead and move you guys down. Now, anytime I do a textile, I always like to hold my finger there for a second so I don't actually shift anything, and then pull it off. And then we're gonna go ahead and give this a good shake and stretch like a Polaroid picture. This is what we always do when we do textiles because we want to get out any paper marks, any of those press lines very quickly. And there you have it. Let me see. Try and get you guys a little bit straighter. That is our tote bag. So this is really beautiful. Like I said, it's got that waterproof liner. Just another great product that we have tried from Johnson's Plastics Plus. You can find the links for everything we used in this tutorial in the video description. If you make this project, definitely show it off. We'd love to see it. And as always, thank you so much for joining us.